for G2 to even this series up?
Well, I kind of like the draft in game one, and usually like the EU Maokai as our default. So with that out the window, we're going to have to change things up to get a little bit more aggressive.
Okay.
When I think about Skimon, he is someone that can be that carry player. He is kind of like, I mean, he follows a very similar trajectory to what EU Inspired did when he started in EU. When you give him the tools to be a monster, he can be that guy. So I want to see him more on the Xin Zhao. Let's see him be a little bit more proactive in the early game and kind of get G2 off to a good start.
If I was to take your perspective as well, I don't know how you feel about this, but if they got caps onto some playmaking champion, you know, like the Annie or something like that, so he can also be one to start out fights and be an initiator, might be a better look than the Cassio was last time around.
Okay, so sides are flip-flopped this time, but FlyQuest are maintaining 2 of their same first-round bans from last time in the Azir and TF. Their third ban, however, is taken by G2, who removed the Yone themselves on blue side, which shows me they don't want to first pick it. They're also going to ban away that Rumble. Again, Whippo plays it, Broken Blade, not so attuned to it. Orianna also banned by G2. Final ban of this first half is Talia from FlyQuest. Remember that G2 had that one last side, so all 4 mid laners banned in game 1 are banned again in game 2.
So it's either a Vi Ahri situation or it's an Annie first pick for G2 is what I'm expecting. Something that gives them a little bit more, ooh, okay, no, they go straight for the Aurora. That's really a surprise. We've seen them lean more towards that Annie because of its playmaking potential, but the blind pick Aurora were expecting this to go into the mid lane. I guess they are testing Quad's pool a bit here, especially by removing the Orianna. They're saying, what else have you got into a champion that has a lot of agency in the early to mid game?
And then we're thinking about the AD jungles that pair well as with it, and that is like the Wukong and the Vi are the 2 really primary ones that are still up. And oftentimes, if you pick the Vi, yeah, people like playing the Wukong with the clone into the Vi. So we'll see if Annie plus Wukong here is a really common pairing. Very, very potent. If they want to snatch that early.
Inspired always gives me a heart attack with these Nidalee hovers. Every single time. I know not to trust them, but there's just, I still inherently have a problem. But we do see the Senna immediately locked here. Second pick of the draft for FlyQuest.
Okay, even with the reduced, stacking has been very successful, so confident on that one. And they're like, you know what, there's early enough that there's still plenty of AD jungles to go through, and they don't have to jump on the Wukong they feel like early.
So I like the fact that when you think about Aurora, it is a very range-limited champion, and you have to kind of like play tricks to find those angles on your opponents. If Senna gets all the range that she wants, she's never going to be in range of those tricks anyway. So I feel like that's got to be at least part of the thought process here for the side of FlyQuest as G2. Hey, we're talking about Wukong and Vi. They're happy to take the Vi here to pair with the Aurora.
Yeah, and like you're talking, especially when you're playing against the Auroras, if especially they get some side lane priority, you have to ward flanks. You have to keep track of them so they can't get towards your back line, can't get those big flanks off. So here, I am still expecting the Wukong for FlyQuest here. Because a lot of people do like playing it with the Annie as well as into a Vi, but they have been cooking.
I think it's putting a bit of pressure on FlyQuest now to decide if they want that support pool pinched, or if they want to lock in the jungle, because either way, one of those 2 roles is going to get attacked. Okay. There's that Wukong you were talking about. This does mean that G2 can look to remove things like the Tahm Kench specifically. Tahm Kench with the Senna into Vi, very well-known response just because of the single target protection that the Tahm Kench does provide. On top of that, like, they could consider removing the Nautilus as well, another very common and effective pairing that goes alongside the Senna, especially given that G2 are very avid Senna players themselves, so they're very familiar with some of the best support pairings, and I expect that to be targeted in the next phase. Meanwhile, for FlyQuest, I imagine they can look to try and attack the AD carry pool a little bit. Maybe they would consider removing the Draven. It's something that we haven't seen recently from Hans Sama, but it is something that he is willing to bring out into these slower, more scaling AD carries.
Also, I really like the Rel here for the side of G2, considering the fact that that typical counterpick of the Alistar is removed by the Fearless system itself. You're going to feel better about just being able to lock that one in blind, considering Senna does not have any flashy movement abilities. She can just turn invisible, right? Annie, yeah, she can haste herself with the shield, but again, no dashes, no blinks. Easy for Rel to try to find big engages on these carries. Nautilus, another common pairing there with that Senna, similar to the Tahm Kench like you're talking about. Obviously doesn't have the same protective capability, but a big engage mechanism. That one's removed by G2.
I think Kai'Sa might be a really good ban from FlyQuest right now. You can say what you want about Hans Sama's Kai'Sa, but I think that it just pairs really nicely with the Rel plus Vi combo. A very effective backline access, really good dive, and Looks like FlyQuest are going to align with me. I'm expecting Tahm Kench to be the last ban coming through from G2. It's just such a good pairing with the Senna, and it's so good into the Vi. It just makes the most sense to me. Braum would be the only other thing I would consider, depending on how defensive FlyQuest is feeling.
Yeah, some of those, peel tools or the defensive tools, maybe because both of them are available, the value on Van goes down a little bit. I came into this series as well, kind of looking for Bwipo to be on more standard things, because in the previous series, he was doing a lot of counter picking and they were not working out. And so things like the Scion and the Renekton, I think, are really high priority for him and for FlyQuest. And so that's why I do also respect this Renekton ban that they throw at him again, even though it does leave open a lot of options for Busio.
And the option they're going to go with is the Bard.
Ooh, some more roaming, some more side lane stuff here.
Yeah. I mean, normally when I think about Bard, it's into champions that have low mobility that you can either use as an engage tool onto, or you can set up for picks on. Leaving Senna isolated, I think, is okay, especially with how much swapping we're seeing in the early game in particular. Senna's quite happy to move around the map, and I expect Bwipo, kind of, what is their composition missing right now? I guess a little bit more engage. I mean, they have the Wukong plus Annie follow-up plus a Bard. They do have a lot of flexibility in terms of their engage, so I guess Bwipo could do whatever he wants.
And that is music to my ears, Vedius.
Probably his as well.
Yeah.
Because Bwipo doing whatever he wants can definitely be some spicy cooking, and it will be into the Cassante here. Obviously going for the blind pick here, Broken Blade, trying to play that generalist pick for himself up on the top side.
All right, everybody get into your meme folders real quick, find the copy pasta, get that one ready to go.
Bwipo has done a lot of things, like, Urgot style stuff as well. Could be something, go for the executes. He likes scaling into it. Let's see what it's going to be. The Garen with the execute. So thinking about the executes on Cassante, locks it in. The Garen execute is effective if you get ulted.
So for those of you who might not be familiar, because we haven't seen it in a little bit here, at least not at home in the LTA for us.
Game when they have a Vi and an Aurora to make things happen in the early game.
And it looks like there is going to be no sorcery second for Bwipo. He's going for the tankier route with the Resolve. Sometimes with Garen, you'll see people take the Axiom Arcanist thing to have even bigger ults, that and Last Stand type of things for some 1v1 big burst potential there. But a lot more safety with the Resolve tree here, a lot more regeneration for lane.
All right, hopefully we get a bit more action-packed early game than game number one. Remember, while you're watching the action unfold, you can keep an eye out for exclusive drops just for tuning in to MSI. All you got to do is be logged in and watching on lolesports.com for a chance to score that loot. Now, Quad versus Caps here in the mid lane. I'm looking forward to the next installment of this, but up in the top side, I feel like so far at MSI, before today, both of these top laners have been underperforming. But when you look at them in the past, they've both played a ton of international games. Best international placement, Bwipo got runner-up at Worlds. We don't even have time to talk about it because immediately G2 is ready to fight down here on the bottom side. The 2v2 starts, Lebrov and Hans Sama getting the better of Busio here early on as FlyQuest fires back.
Bit of trading back and forth. It's FlyQuest who still have positioning on the lane, though. Of course, they do have that ranged advantage. But you're right in saying that there's a lot of expectations on both these top laners' shoulders. It was Bwipo that came out the gate swinging in game one. The health bar's getting lower and lower. Oh, keeping your eyes on Inspired here. Look, he's setting up for an invade. He's trying to steal away that Gromp.
Oh, very early.
Get it.
Nicely done from Inspired, but now in the bottom lane, Busio's about to die! First blood over to G2! Nicely done, as Masu wants to try to get something back, but the only thing he's gonna get is a trip to the graveyard! Double kill Hans Sama, 2 minutes and 20 seconds in.
A double kill for the Corki. That is gonna be so much burst damage into the Senna that's very weak early, has to start scaling up, has to start collecting souls. I mean, last time that Masu played it, he did keep up a very quick pace of soul stacking, but now it's going to be so difficult because the lane is incredibly dangerous.
Oh, Ansama even executed, I guess, to
Fast
go back.
recall.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Gets back to base quicker. Meanwhile, Inspired is just stealing away as much as he can from the camps of Skumond. Rather than actually move towards his bot side, he's committed to securing that Wolf. He will at the very least get something back, but Inspired doing some damage on the top side of Skumond's jungle. Wow, I wasn't expecting a double kill at level 1.
Yeah.
Ansama wanted a bit of revenge. He was put behind a lot in game 1, and he comes out the gate swinging here in game 2.
Let's take another look at how this happened.
Moving up for brush priority. Yeah, Labrov goes right in. They didn't hesitate either. As soon as he got the flip back, throw down the ignite. Hansama following up, and then with the barrier too, Masu's not even able to answer.
And then he moved into the fog of war as well.
Really good job on the side of the brush there.
Yep. Very well played.
Masu also using his cleanse, I believe. So,
I mean,
getting the extra ones.
I mean, when we talk about good starts for G2,
It's a not like this.
I love Masu, obviously, in the game, remaining calm, composed, needs to focus up. A small blip in the radar. Mithy gives us the true feelings on the inside. Meanwhile, on the rest of the map, we're just seeing fair trading on the top side. I do think Bwipo has a slight advantage, especially with a wave pushing towards him. Inspired with a small camp advantage just because of the damage he was able to do into Skumond's side of the jungle. Meanwhile, in the mid lane matchup, we're just seeing concentrating back and forth. I call this old school Annie versus modern day Annie, just because they play in very similar ways. Both just want to drop their combos and do as much damage as possible. Busio hovering around the mid.
Yeah, on a ward right now, so Caps just trying to play it steady, waste as much extra time from the enemy support as he possibly can.
Double Scuttle Crab as well for Inspired, so really off to a fantastic start in terms of the matchup. And here comes the early swap from FlyQuest once more.
Okay, Masu up here top side, forcing Broken Blade back a little bit, making sure that Broken Blade is later on his recall. That's going to give Bwipo the opportunity to make his way down to the bottom lane first. As you can see, that wave crashing into the tier 1 turret, Hansama doing that. And remember back to game number 1, the biggest early game lead when there were no kills was Masu's farm advantage on that Varus Karma lane, like you already mentioned, Vedius. This time around, though, it's Hansama. He's up in farm, he's up in kills, he's up in gold, and now he's valking in after Bwipo, who has to turn around and run. Yes, you are a Garen. Yes, you're up in levels, but you're in a 1v2. Now Quad in some danger as Caps gets a solo kill. G2 have defeated Warfare 5 minutes into the game.
The burst damage of the Aurora passive combined with Electrocute never gets old.
I don't know what this G2 has been, but solo kills in bot lane, solo kill in mid lane, this is absolutely crazy from the G2 members. Like, we have not seen this type of performance from them for a while. Bwipo level 6, the cavalry's coming in.
Yeah, Bwipo still ready to try to turn this one around. Labrov gets silenced, but he's not worried about it. Full health still on Hans and Labrov both, as Skumond is chased out of the Dragon Pit by Inspired. So FlyQuest, despite hemorrhaging these early kills, will at least take the first objective, forcing the enemy jungler out and securing the Drake. Here's how Caps got his solo.
Yeah, Caps with the first trade right there, got the big chunk early, and then just chased him down on Aurora. Oh, got him at just the end.
The range on that is always very deceptive. The reactions from the crowd, always fun to see.
Good job. Very epic. Can you get some?
Very epic.
All right, back to live. Caps in a little bit of danger, though. Goes between worlds, drops the ulti defensively. Of course, Quad already using Tibbers there to try to secure the kill. So ult for ult, no kill gained. Both mid laners still with their flashes available. Both teleports synced up almost exactly. Same story being told for the teleports here of the top laners.
Yeah, and that chase down from Caps was even with Quad running the phase rush there on Annie. So really nice from him to be able to chase it down.
So we've been talking a lot, obviously, about the kills that G2 are getting, but Inspired is just bullying Skumond out of this game. The fact that Skumond thought he could secure the dragon with the pressure that he had in bot, FlyQuest smartly attack the bot lane, means that there's no support available for Skumond on the dragon. Inspired bullies him off it. He's also consistently trying to steal camps away, and just look at the advantage that he's building for himself. He has, what, like a 4 camp advantage over his jungle counterpart. Inspired really putting his Skumond through his paces.
Yeah, it really was a nice, like, thank you for the leash moment on the dragon that he was able to go down and collect. And since the early double kill from the Corki, FlyQuest trying to mitigate that damage, swapping back and forth. Garen, of course, we saw it multiple times there, but just activate that W, reduce a lot of the threat of the opponents going for those all-ins. So Bwipo here doing a lot so far with the Garen for the team.
Now, that first dragon being taken also means that the Void Grub situation in Game 2 should be different than Game number 1. Remember back in Game 1, FlyQuest took the Grubs, G2 shook hands on it, said, fine, we'll take the first Drake. Now that those are not up at the same time, the Grubs have just now spawned. FlyQuest are starting the objective, but you can see G2 hanging around. There's nothing else to look at in the other side of the river, so G2 are going to look at this instead. Busio gets crashed down on by Lebrov, but Masu misses the center route. Hans Sama is here, level 6 on the Corki. The Rocket Poke can be very, very devastating. Han's going to try to steal one of those Grubs away there with a Phos Bomb, but it doesn't hit with the timing. Now that last Grub, the target here for FlyQuest. Bwipo's coming up around the side. FlyQuest looking to go in as Quad finds the engage. Follow up there with a Cyclone, and Hans is already down. Nice damage coming in from the Wukong, but now Caps is between worlds. Lebrov is low. Caps has to go back over the wall, and Broken Blade has found his way into the middle of the fight, but Busio is already out. FlyQuest get a kill, get the Grubs, and get everybody out alive.
FlyQuest there, they got there so early, and Bwipo actually walked up first, so Bwipo was kind of holding the mid lane there, the wall, and giving the extra comfort for FlyQuest to then turn and make that play. Quad investing his flash to go for it, and they do get the extra kill on top of all 3 Grubs.
G2 seemed very indecisive on what they actually wanted to do, while FlyQuest had a very clear game plan. Bring Bwipo up, force the fight, and they didn't waste any time. The moment that the Grubs were secured, that was a flash engage from Quad. They quickly locked down Hans Sama, and they took him out of the fight before it could really begin.
And when you look at plays like that, you also have to look at the minute or even the 30 seconds that precedes it, because our camera was on bottom side, and we did see Bwipo go proxy the wave. So the big bonus when you go proxy waves behind the tower is you get the early move timer. And so Bwipo, doing a lot, communicating with the rest of the team, goes for the proxy, gets the extra timer, gets the early move up, and FlyQuest kind of use all of that to manipulate the situation there.
Big wave crashing into the top lane. Tier 1 turret. Broken Blade wants to collect as much of that as possible, especially considering the top lane CS deficit already. Inspire ducking back into the Grub pit now as Skumon and Lebrov threaten him. Busio's here to back him up, though. Just fires a little bit of damage into Lebrov, forcing G2 back away. And this is kind of what you were talking about, Vedius. FlyQuest feels comfortable leaving Masu alone to try to farm the souls, but they shouldn't be this comfortable. Masu in danger now as Busio shows up in time to barely get his AD carry away.
I thought you cursed us, brother, for a second right there. Woo, that was a close one. You are lucky Masu lived, buddy.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to. Busio's got my back. Busio's got my back, and now we've got a teleport coming in. Bwipo's got his back. The Garen back up here in this top lane. He's a half level ahead, well, about a quarter level ahead of Broken Blade, who would like to hang around and be able to intercept this wave. He does have his teleport ready too, considering he's almost out of mana, is in a bit of a precarious spot, does get caught up by the Tempered Fate there. More of a tempo ulti, not like you can make a whole lot of plays with that, but you do interrupt the recall. Bwipo finds a quick silence into a little bit of spin. If he could have got some more damage from that, you got him close to ultimate range, but you're not going to kill somebody from 40% until it's a higher level ulti.
I actually really like that play. Taking a couple turret shots, then going for the ultimate, all because this Cassante is so low on resources, very low mana, already low on health. So Bwipo, he's just keeping up the pressure. He got one turret played already. He can continue all this Garen pressure.
Now he's working on that next plate, goes for another spin, but Broken Blade with the footwork. It's like you said, Vedius, Cassante always has a dash. For some reason, there's always one off of cooldown, and Broken Blade is making sure he doesn't give Bwipo any more ticks on the spin. G2 starting up the second Drake of the game, now immediately turning for the engage onto Inspire. He drops the clone, he tries to get back away, and Skumon's gonna be killed instead. Masu rotates into the fight, and Quad and Busio are looking at Lebrov. Hans Sama flying away as Busio and Quad go on a magical journey, and Lebrov gets away to safety underneath the tier 1 turret. Hans Sama continuing his retreat. G2, they thought they had the trigger pull, but it was a trap trigger, and Inspired ends up baiting him in.
The counterpunch from FlyQuest just seems to hit harder. the fact that Skumon melted under the damage from Quad and Masu. Inspired could still get his ultimate off, even in the midst of that chaos. They didn't quite have the damage to one-shot him, so FlyQuest turned the fight around.
And the heals and shields that they have. So this is an attempt at bursting the Wukong. One of the reasons people like playing it into the Vi is that then you could pop your ultimate, then you can go for your clone. He doesn't die. You know, we saw the Senna ult coming over the top. We saw Quad and Busio coming through to peel him as well. And as you say, Flowers, it really is a gambit when you go for that play. You know, trying to get enough burst damage to burst him down in time, but they fail the DPS check. And FlyQuest get another dragon.
And those kills that G2 is able to find really don't mean anything at this point. Inspired was already getting the better of Skumon in the game, and now he's ballooning that lead into a significant advantage. We've seen how every single objective fight has gone the way of FlyQuest, largely because Inspired is on the objective first, and he's setting up his team for a nice fight.
Yeah, some key items, Vedius. You know, you're talking about the Trinity Force there for Inspired. Also, the Static Shiv for Senna, relieving, you know, some of the early deficit that he was put in. Now it's so much easier to deal with minion waves.
Plus, gentlemen, we are back to one of my favorite game states. 1 feet for one side, 1 for the other. It's a battle for the boots. This time, though, for the first turret. There wasn't a ton of damage done pre-turret plates, except for that top lane tier 1, which after FlyQuest got all 3 grubs, did take a significant amount of a beating. That means that if FlyQuest can secure that, they'll earn the boots there. Bwipo starting to use the spin before Broken Blade enters into the scrap there with a Pathmaker, but it's G2 who want to find the kill here onto the Garen. Immediately, Skumon makes the engage. Bwipo is low, flashing away, trying to finding some sort of an outplay, but immediately Broken Blade goes all out. Skumon, though, trying to get himself away as Busio wants to get one back, but the kill credit over to Caps is right where G2 wants the money.
Strong play there from G2 up on the top side to get it and get out. They, as you say, it does cost them 1 flash. Now Busio in the middle.
Nice play coming out from LeBron, and immediately Broken Blade looking to slam Busio back into the ball, but Busio with a 2-man stun, ready to set it up as Caps goes between worlds. Busio gets away underneath the turret. The Tempered Fate is perfect. Inspired, needing one more hit of LeBron. He'll get the kill. Busio stays alive. Inspired about to die to Hans Sama. There's dead bodies on both sides as Quad keeps chasing Hans, but it won't matter. There's no more opportunity here for a kill, and Caps gets to recall at the same time.
Busio is just dancing on G2. The fancy feet, the side steps, the getting away to safety was beautiful. G2 still end up picking 2 kills, but my goodness, like G2 overstayed way too deep, and they almost got punished massively for it.
You said it, Vedius. Busio with the juke boots on. That was crazy. Actually getting away from an Aurora is definitely a feat. And he like quick channels his recall in the middle there, but they have Quad and Inspired coming over, and again, a Senna ultimate over the top. That Senna ultimate was just enough, and Caps tries to follow him under the tower here with the double ultimate, and then right after he comes out, Caps goes for the Q and flashes, but on the bottom side, you do have to point out, Hans Sama, the Corki that got the early couple of kills, getting more money. He got the kill onto Inspired, and he did get the kill onto Tibbers as well. I mean, it's not everything, but it's an extra 50 gold there, so that definitely is something.
This guy in the audience is loving it, man. Hans Sama on the Corki, the win condition potentially here for the side of G2 this time. Does have his Spirit Shojin completed, tier stack 2/3 of the way. Worth pointing out, we saw in the picture-in-picture during the replay, Rift Herald for G2 is their first neutral objective so far this game. FlyQuest got the grubs, FlyQuest got the dragon, but it's good that G2 was able to stop that bleeding here in these river battles for objectives. FlyQuest still with a very moderate gold lead, but it doesn't mean a whole lot. It's 500, 16 minutes into the game. Bwipo and Broken Blade, both level 11, level 2 ultis online. For the Garen, a very big deal in this matchup. Your execution threshold has gone up. It's that much easier to find the insta-kill onto Cassante.
Eyes on Lebrov, Hex flashes over the wall.
Wants to go in for Masu, it's a lot of burst, but immediately he's going to be saved by Busio yet again. The Tempered Fate to guarantee the follow-up from G2 cannot be there. Lebrov, he's fine with it, gives him the emote.
They get the cleanse out from Masu, a valuable objective to pick up, but again, we kind of look at the rest of the map. Things still going very much the way of FlyQuest. The top side very much in their favor. The only real gold lead that G2 sitting on is in the pockets of Hans Sama. With the dragon spawning in 10 seconds, we'll see how things play out, because it is FlyQuest that have better vision set up around the neutral.
So, Vedius, how do you feel about this Spear of Sojin Corki build? Because usually the most common, of course, is the Trinity Force with the Muramana, or you could go like the crit version, some people like as well. But this one is a lot about the ability damage.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it come out from Caps during the play-in stage, and it's something that G2 is clearly prepared coming into this tournament with the idea of giving you a little bit more value around the poke. I personally still prefer the Trinity Force. I just think it spikes harder in the mid-game, and we'll see if it comes to fruition now as the root comes through.
Yeah, Lebrov getting bound up. Chain CC, he can't press a button. FlyQuest immediately find a pick on the main engage tool from G2, and with him out of the picture, the Dragon just spawned. FlyQuest, they'll be at sole point if they get this.
Exactly. G2 lost their primary engage, which means that they're not in a position to contest this. Their best option is now to try and cross-map, attacking that top tier 1. But again, we find FlyQuest in this mid-game just finding advantage after advantage. And G2 making these mistakes where they're just out of position, and FlyQuest doing a really good job of finding them and finding advantages off the back of them.
Yeah, with all the pressure here of the Dragon stacking, FlyQuest are now going to be able to just draw G2 into their hands. See about Busio's trailing play here up on the top side, though. Busio doing a good job staying in Fog of War.
Okay, goes on a magical journey. Does not hit the binding, even though it only would have been a slow. Busio still trying to get away before Caps gets that third hit there on the spells. Does find the recall there on the Q. Now this turret down to 1/4 HP. Remember, this is still very important. There were still no turrets taken by either side. First turret and the bonus move speed boots are still up for grabs. Lebrov in the enemy jungle. Tries to crash down to get himself away. Busio again, not going to find the binding. Magical journey through the wall. Skewmon coming up beside them in the fight. Ready with a vault breaker. But nobody to be found. No fight here. Top laner still on the other end of the map. There is no teleport for Bwipo. FlyQuest knows this. There is the teleport for Broken Blade. If FlyQuest opts into a fight, they could instantly be a man down. They want to avoid these types of fights, and for G2, if you can force one, it could be your opportunity to take the lead.
Busio hovering here too. Watch out for the Bard ultimate.
Inspired, gonna find Skewmon there as he clones back over the wall, but now Quad could be in danger. Immediately drops the combo onto G2, but instead it's the full engage. Tempered Fate looking to stuff that engage now as Hansama's under pressure, but Inspired has to try to get away. The Senna ulti over the top, as now the turret is destroyed into the bottom lane at the same time. G2, they get the shutdown back on the Quad's Annie. It's 1 kill so far, 1 kill for G2, nothing for FlyQuest. 1 turret for 1 across the rift, but G2 got it first, so they earn first turret, they earn the feats, they're gonna drop the rift turret in mid lane as well. The play favors G2.
Yeah, the getaway driver there. Broken Blade jumps in the rift herald, and with the increased turning radius there, just cruises on through to safety. G2 get their play, they get out. Bwipo, of course, after the teleport up to answer, does at least go for that trade, gets his turret.
You can see the first-hand experience of playing against Canyon driving a Rift Herald was definitely something that G2 have learned from. Broken Blade able to get away from that situation, and G2 securing their first tower of the game, but FlyQuest respond with 2 of their own. The dive, honestly, seems quite over-aggressive. The advantage that they have is that FlyQuest isn't quite in a position to defend. The ultimate from Busio buys a decent amount of time as Inspired sets his sights onto Hansama. He quickly realizes that he can't really win out on this 1 versus 1. But after they get that kill onto Quad, the arrival of Bwipo is enough to deter G2 from sticking around in the fight. They lost a lot of HP in the extended engage, and so they have to be happy with the tower and the kill.
As we crest 20 minutes, I want to check in on the stacks for Masu. 59, 60 stacks now on the Senna. The average Senna stacks at MSI at 20 minutes are just about 49. So despite the fact that they had that 2v2 death at level 1, Masu is still stacking 20% more effectively than what you would expect for this point in time. So the Senna not really slowed down in terms of that mechanism she's known for.
Yeah, Hansama had some of those slow stacking games himself as well. So let's see how that Senna factor does come into play, because looks like he is going for the Black Cleaver build. Does have Wukong as well as the Garen on his team, so going to try and shred for the squad.
You have no idea that this is going on right now. They have a suspicion.
Broken Blade's smelling something funny up here in the topside river, as G2 are going to show up, and they show up with enough men in enough time The FlyQuest does not feel confident finishing the objective. At the same time, G2 did grab that turret down there in the bottom lane, ties it up at 2-2 in that count. Busio with a nice two-man binding there. Make sure he can get himself away as Labrov and Skumon prowling around the enemy jungle, seeing if there's anything they can steal away. The gold essentially dead even, very slightly favoring G2, but the big thing I'm looking at, it's 1 minute until the dragon spawns. If FlyQuest take that dragon, they have a Cloud Soul. A Cloud Soul with Annie on your team, with Garen on your team, with Wukong on your team is so scary.
It certainly is, and since Otacon here is still on the map, they have some options. So they're actually roaming Busio up here first to take away the vision. When they can draw you across the map, you know, the Soul potential on the bottom side of the map, the Otacon up on top side as well, don't have to necessarily force the issue.
A tale of two sides of the map here. As you can see, the 1,500 gold lead and 1,000 gold lead respectively for Bwipo and Inspired. Meanwhile, 1,500 gold lead and 1,000 gold lead respectively for the mid laner and 80 carry in Caps and Hans on G2. Who can carry the next fight harder is the question that'll answer whether or not FlyQuest can take this soul. G2 moving up with a full 5-man roster to try to stop it as Bwipo immediately tries to engage on the Caps and Hans, but Bwipo is going to be isolated. Immediately the Senna ulti trying to reinforce FlyQuest top laner, but he's going to be taken out before anything else happens. FlyQuest in some trouble. Broken Blade here with the front line, goes all out and he manages to stay alive. He's going to kill Quad. Broken Blade popping off. G2 slamming the fight. The target selection was better, and G2 hold on.
In the front to back, it's G2 that holds strong. The idea being that when Cassante goes in and the Rel is there to follow up, Bwipo immediately turns his attention onto the backline. He says, if I can stop you from following up, then that means that the Cassante's just gonna die. But that is not what happened. Broken Blade was able to survive for a huge amount of time, while Bwipo just melts trying to deal with Hans Summer and Caps.
Exactly, right over the top. They used the Senna ult too, but that was not the difference maker this time around. Bwipo right into the double carries of G2, right into their faces, flashes on Caps, goes for the silence. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fight, the other engage gets stalled out by Busio.
A lot of time was spent trying to deal with Broken Blade on Labrov, and it was like a 4 versus 2 situation and 3 versus 1 on the other side, and G2 just went out on the 3 versus 1, and then we saw some Cassante gaming right there as Broken Blade isolates the Annie, takes her out of the fight. And G2 find themselves a 1-team fate. They deny the soul away from FlyQuest, and now they've started off the Otacon.
They've denied the soul. This could be a massive jump in power here for G2 as well. FlyQuest is on the approach, but the Otacon is already low. Labrov goes in for the engage on Busio, but he gets away on a magical journey. Broken Blade here to frontline now, as Bwipo's already spinning on top of him. The Garen damage is big, but Broken Blade still getting himself away. The Otacon is claimed by G2. Broken Blade still the target, likely to be the sacrificial lamb. Continues running, trying to waste as much time as possible here on the FlyQuest side. Broken Blade still clearing the distance. Inspired can catch up, finds the last hit there for the shutdown. Bwipo and Quad are way too far forward. Quad's already going to be killed as Busio finds a big tempered fate, but Bwipo's going to die now too. Skumon heals with the triumph, but he does not die. FlyQuest solo laners go in alone. Masu and Inspired now ready to try to follow up, but Hans Sama's already able to make the distance. Labrov with a crash down over the wall, but Inspired ready to follow. It's 2 dead on either side.
Yeah, FlyQuest trying to clean up scavengers, but they got too many. Caps here does get slowed, but should be okay.
Yeah. Inspired without the clone to jump over the wall to chase after Caps means Caps can get away.
Thought that was going to be a Baron start for FlyQuest, and I think that was their idea. We kill Cassante, we chase down G2, and with numbers advantage, we can turn and force a Baron. Instead, what happens is Quad gets caught out alongside Bwipo. Busio buys a ton of time with this ulti, but Quad already dies. That means that in the extended fight, no one gets the value out of the center ultimate. A nice binding does come through, and great damage comes down on the Skumon, but it doesn't quite secure enough damage. Inspired, though, he said that he's not done with the fight.
Yup, they go for the extra chase afterwards. Caps laughing as well, and he is the richest person in the game with the biggest gold difference here on the Aurora, as well as the extra power of the Dark Seal fully stacked here. So much burst potential behind that Aurora.
And I think we're seeing a much more coordinated G2 here in this second game, and at the same time, we're seeing FlyQuest in some of the same pitfalls that we saw domestically in the LTA, where they would get a lead, they would start to feel it a little bit, and then they would become discombobulated. They wouldn't all be on the same page, and it doesn't seem like they're all making the same choice. We'll see if they can regroup, because right now, G2's in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, those last 2 plays for G2 had so much value. The big teamfight win before Dragon, stopping the soul stacking and getting the Otacon. Whippo is at it again, though.
Yeah, Whippo wants to go in after Hans. Tempered Fate finds the Corki, but nobody else. FlyQuest going in. Inspired ready here with a Cyclone. Hans Sama's already down. Masu trying to get away from Lebrov. Looks for a little bit more damage. If they can kill the Rel too, that's going to be huge. Whippo goes in for the Stride Breaker. A little bit more damage is there, and Masu's already got the kill. Now Broken Blade about to die here too. It's 3-0 for FlyQuest.
They make the quicker play. They just started out with Whippo chasing down the Corki. They take him out, chase through a tower of their own, and now Vedius, they're moving towards the Baron.
Excellent target selection from FlyQuest means that they flip the game on its head. The Dragon is in a minute's time, and with the Baron secured, FlyQuest is going to take full control over game 2.
North America versus Europe, back and forth here, Vedius. Big objectives traded. G2 will still have this power of the Otacon, getting extra flower for every kill they get and the on-death effect, but now FlyQuest with that last play, the pushing power of this Baron, and with Dragon here about to spawn, they can shove out their lanes on the top side of the map first and then get everyone back there for the Dragon Soul fight.
G2 setting up for a trap, but it was that lockdown onto the Corki. They got Hansama's flash in that extended chase that was happening in the previous play. And that's why I say it was such good target focus, because FlyQuest, recognizing that summonless Corki, meant that with him gone, so much of the damage disappears.
And they have teleport on Whippo right now, so they're keeping Whippo split pushing. Inspired has once again got a Guardian Angel for the critical fight.
Scumon's going in. Already they found their engage onto Masu, but the Tempered Fate is immediately there to try to stop the engage. Inspired ready to peel for the Senna, and now it's Broken Blade taking a little bit of damage. G2 found their moment, but FlyQuest was ready to respond. Now G2 is split. Lebrov gonna be the target for Whippo as he immediately goes in to target that engage mechanism. The Rel stays alive. FlyQuest with control over the Dragon Pit.
Ahead of the fight, G2's trying to find a pick on Amasu. They don't find it. They might have found Caps.
Caps is low, flashes away from the Dawning Shadow, but Lebrov gets clipped. He's down to 100 HP. The Rel cannot fight.
That should be Soul, because Caps now has no ultimate on Aurora or flash on Aurora. So much value here from FlyQuest chasing off and getting those cooldowns. They should be able to get it. Skewmond is around, but there's plenty of vision for FlyQuest, even if he went for a Miracle Steal.
Absolutely beautiful Tempered Fate from Bucio's Bard to save Masu from what would have been a phenomenal engage on the side of G2. The MasterCard priceless moment of the game, the Dragon Soul for FlyQuest now, but could there be a counterpunch? Quad's in danger. The engage from G2 this time onto the FlyQuest mid. He's gonna die immediately. Whippo and Inspired looking to turn things around, maybe onto Skewmon. A little bit more damage is needed, and Whipple's already got the kill there with Demacian Justice. Now Broken Blade still here on the front. Lebrov takes another hit over the head from Wukong. Masu has joined the fight. Broken Blade's got to make some distance, but another Tempered Fate locks up G2. Hansama hit with a binding, but they can't follow it up with enough damage. Masu's got a lot of range on Senna now, and Broken Blade is low. Masu getting himself away as Inspired drops the clone to drop the aggro. Now Whippo still spinning around, but it's only minions under fire. FlyQuest dancing with the line here between greatness and disaster. G2 low on health, backing up. FlyQuest still with the Baron. Caps with the Aurora Burst catches Masu unaware, and that will silence this push.
I was just about to say how well Masu was gliding in this fight, playing with his range beautifully, chipping away at the HP bars of G2, making it so difficult for them to really find the fight. But then he takes one step too far, and Caps shuts him down, adding a few pages to that Magi's book.
And that does put a stop to the siege and a stop to them taking that secondary tower, but it's not a huge influx of gold back to G2. Here's another look at actually how it happened here and then moving up. So he, like you said, he had been doing a good job using his slow, poking out, using the range. But as they walk in,
Gets a little bit too close.
power shot.
And the stealth as well. He didn't quite even see Caps showing up, and he gets caught unaware. Frustration on the face of Masu, understandably so. The siege slows down, and we return back onto live.
A beautiful play from Caps, knowing exactly when to use that invis for the range.
He's got 18 stacks on his Medjai Soul Stealer here.
Yep.
And since they got the feats, they also have the upgraded boots.
But we're already into a fight. Inspired finds the engage into Captain Lebrov. Caps gets himself away. Inspired takes a massive chunk, but Lebrov is the one whose body hits the floor. FlyQuest with another 5v4 situation now, going for the push in mid lane. This tier 2 turret should fall. That'll be FlyQuest claiming their 4th turret of the game. The gold, gentlemen, is still not even 2,000 as Hans defends the tier 2. And Broken Blade takes one in the bottom lane at the same time.
Throughout MSI, G2's individuals just get caught out in the mid to late game, and it's no different in this matchup. FlyQuest continues to punish them. Inspired is active on the map, and Quad?
Yeah, Quad's in danger. Stun onto both of them, though, as Quad tries to get away, but Broken Blade is going all out. He's in some danger himself. Busio trying to lock him up. Broken Blade is all out, but FlyQuest bring more men. Inspired, dominating on the Wukong. An impressive performance in back-to-back games. 9, 2, and 4 on the FlyQuest jungler in game 2.
And their Cloud Soul is really helping FlyQuest move across the map here and find more and more picks for themselves. This whole map is so dangerous for G2 members, very difficult for them to navigate.
It just feels like G2 have lost control. They don't really know what they want to do on the map. Their members are isolated. They're trying to cross map where they can. And it's this mid to late game states where they just kind of lose focus of what they want to do, whereas FlyQuest is fully locked in. They are moving as a unit. Busio is moving around the map looking for picks. He's fishing for another one.
Okay, goes for the Tempered Fate on Skewmon, but he won't land that. Whippo chasing after Caps, but Caps just chunks him for 1/3 HP. Now, Whippo is Garen, level 16. The passive is at maximum value. Inspired goes in for the knockup onto Caps. Forces him to use the ulti defensively to jump away. The Elder Dragon is in 30 seconds. If either side gets a big win here, they can go for that, and you know how threatening that is. FlyQuest finally forced down the tier 2 turret here in the mid lane, but now the Elder is the focus for both sides. G2 moving towards the area.
Yeah, Baron in 12 seconds.
Not that Elder, I goofed it.
Well,
you're right, it was purple. The icon was purple. I thought it was a dragon, my bad.
It's so hard though, because all the vision control is in FlyQuest's favor here, and since they do have the Bard, like they have so much threat. There's no ultimate on him right now, of course, but yeah, thank you, Vedius, for the highlights.
Whippo continuing to split push as well. Something we've seen him do time and time again on the champion. G2 trying to get a pick of their own, but Whippo reads the play. I think this is it, yeah, super overextension if G2 tried to make this happen. Busio, I was cautious of the Bard pick, but he is making it work in this game. 0-1-11 is the scoreline. He's been involved in 11 of the team's 13 kills. His ultimates have been both defensive and offensive in his ability to find picks. That massive pick that he found onto Hans Sama earlier on in the game was crucial to give FlyQuest a huge advantage. Now with a 3k gold lead, FlyQuest have position on both the Elder and the Baron.
And as Masu approaches this next wave, worth pointing out that Senna, 120 stacks. He is very, very scary on this, has 3 items fully completed, working on the rapid fire cannon, I would have to think here next. As G2, they'll at least pick up their own red buff. 40 seconds on the Elder, and it is the Elder this time. Baron already alive, as this next fight could just determine everything. Kills tied 13-13. Yeah, it's a 2,500 gold lead for FlyQuest, but that's not a lot. The Cloud Soul obviously being a much bigger difference maker. Silence onto Broken Blade from Whippo, but now G2 ready to step in. Caps goes between worlds and Masu's already almost dead. Down to 200 HP. Quad's already eliminated, but now Caps is also dead. Masu continuing to fire. Surviving by 100 was enough, and Lebrov's about to die next. FlyQuest turn it around. G2, they try to pick Masu. They fall ever so short, but it is just enough for FlyQuest.
The front line for FlyQuest does so much there. The double spinning to winning is able to cut through them, and Masu actually survived the entire thing, kiting back, and with the sustain, and with the peel, FlyQuest triumph!
FlyQuest keeping their 80 carry alive by just 100 HP. He then heals himself up with his own Qs. It makes a massive difference, and FlyQuest now, with G2 dead for long enough, they can take the Baron, they can walk over the Elder. FlyQuest with a big win in the team fight.
Inspired and Whippo You said it earlier, Flowers. It was a tale of two halves, with the top side of FlyQuest being the point of strength and the bot side being the strength of G2. Well, FlyQuest came into this fight and they beat the strength of G2 into the ground. Caps did not get a chance to move. He got what damage he could, but with the Baron going down, the Elder quick to follow, G2 is looking to go, FlyQuest is looking to go to match point.
Caps, that's the first time he died in this entire game, but so many times in League of Legends, when you're the guy who's got the weight of the whole game on your back, just one death can be all it takes as we look at the fight and the engage again.
And so look at it, G2 do get a good engage, but so does Inspired here. And then Whippo goes straight to follow him up on Caps like you were talking about. Meanwhile, G2 did get their focus, which was taking out Quad.
So much damage was done onto Masu, but the fact that he lived, Busio ready to provide that protection as well. And Hans Sama was grouped up with the rest of his team, making it even easier for both Whippo and Inspired to turn their attention after dealing with Caps. Just a beautiful team fight from the top side, and once Masu had space, he started dishing out the damage.
Yeah, the Garen and the Wukong, they can both put out so much damage, but also both have so much CC that you get the knockups into the silences, and by that time, they're able to take out the key carries and move on to the next target. Now, with the Baron buff here, FlyQuest pushing in.
Masu, so much power on this Senna, 137 souls, FlyQuest on the push towards inhibitor turrets in two separate lanes.
Baron buff on the minions with the Elder Dragon on themselves, so threatening.
And they immediately decide to go in for the engage. G2 under pressure, Dawning Shadow, gonna guarantee the first kill. Scumon's already down and Inspired is legendary. Broken Blade goes all out as Whippo's gonna be in some danger. The shutdown credit goes over to Labrov. Inspired is far forward. He's likely to burn down here, but he's already got the Guardian Angel. Broken Blade continuing to kite out, but it's not enough. FlyQuest lose their top laner, but they'll take Broken Blade and Scumond in trade. Fly, they still have the Baron. They still have the Elder. They still have themselves set up in the enemy base. Inspired, low on HP, stealing away some camps to try to heal back up, while the rest of FlyQuest continues pushing Nexus turrets. Masu has so much range, G2 can't get anywhere near it. The Nexus already under fire. Quad with the engage, the Elder with the execute, and FlyQuest on the game-winning push for match point.